Welcome to another episode of Guess Your Productivity Bottleneck in 3 questions or less. Today's guest is the awesome, the fabulous Mary Cravets, who's the founder of Simply Gets Clients. Welcome, Mary.
Thanks, Lisa, for having me on. I can't wait to find out my bottleneck.
I know, me too. All right. So the question for you to start is just what do you feel is getting in the way of you getting everything that you want to get done in a day?
I don't think I use my team well. I've been running my business for about 10 years now, and I came from an administrative background, so I know how to do everything. So that makes me a bit dangerous.
And so tell me more about not using your team well.
I feel like there's an evolution that I need to have to understand, like how to assign things, how to who keeps track of it, how to give them accountability but not lose track of things. And it feels, I'm sure this is familiar, you've heard this before, but it sounds like, or it feels like it's almost easier just to do it myself sometimes.
Okay. And is this something that, have you always felt this way? Is this something new?
No, it's new because I need to be playing a different role in my company. So I could get away from it with just doing things myself. But now if I want to get to that next level, grow to $1 million company, I cannot keep doing things the way that I've been doing them. So it's just recently that this is become more obvious that it needs to be attended to.
Okay. And what are you doing right now to solve, quote unquote, this challenge?
I'm using Asana, and I'm putting tasks in there. And so, trying to stay connected to the team that way. I'm trying to remember to ask to have an outcome that I want and then give it to the team, to not just say, okay, there's a project to do and here's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, to give them the outcome and say, you guys work together to figure it out, because the figuring it out is also part of the time suck.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to remember to do that. And there was one other thing. I've moved, working on developing the team. I've moved that time block into my peak attention time, which used to always be reserved for working on developing content and writing blogs and so forth. And now I've just kind of moved my team up the priority list for getting my peak attention in the morning.
Okay. And so you are using Asana.
Mm-hmm.
Who's tracking the pieces and putting the pieces into Asana, and who's watching to make sure those are getting done?
Me.
Okay.
Well, and the team is also, there are some processes in place for like our speaking gigs where that process, I say, oh, I booked it, here's the contact, and then it just runs because we have a template and everything. It's just some of the day-to-day things that come up that feel like they're slipping through cracks. And I don't even know if they are slipping through the cracks. Part of it, I think, is just being able to mentally say, you know what, this is operating differently, and it's actually not a problem.
there. And that right there is where I think that your bottleneck is. And I'll switch it up a little bit. So originally you thought it was just not using your team well, mm-hmm. but it could be that step back of being able to recognize what is and what is not working. Mm-hmm. And then looking at the pieces that aren't working and trying to fix them versus thinking that you're not using them well in all areas. Odds are you're probably using them well 80%, say we'll just pretend 80% of the time.
Okay.
Yet you're thinking about probably 70% of the work that they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, so you're thinking right. There's only 20% probably that aren't super effective and efficient, but you're thinking about way more than that.
Yeah.
And so I
Well,
think the
and that's,
bottleneck is figuring out the piece.
yeah, because I definitely, because it's not just what's happening, it's all the things I think that could happen, should happen, will happen. And the team isn't on top of my vision for 2022 yet. And so that stresses me out.
Right, right. Yes. So it's just figuring out what's not working. So
Yeah.
if we look at this in the or AWE framework that we typically use with clients, A is the awareness piece. That's what we just were doing, digging
Right.
in to solve the real problem,
Yeah.
not the problem, because what we feel is a symptom
Hmm.
of whatever the underlying challenge is. And so being able to dig into there, that's your A piece, that's your awareness piece. And then that W stands for work. It's okay. All right. Now you're getting that the challenge may just be figuring out what's not working versus all of it.
Hmm.
What are the steps that you take to do that? And so one you've already taken by bumping up your time thinking through what are you doing with your team
Yeah.
to your prime peak time hours, which if for those of you who are watching, and Mary, if you're familiar with clockwork, that's the design piece
Oh.
in his 4Ds. And so Mike Michalowicz's 4Ds, D is design. That's the part where you're creating the structure for your team. And so you've moved that up, and that's his highest level of using your brain for in his system. So you've done that. And then that E place is evaluation, is being able to look back in a week or 2 weeks and say, how do I feel about this? And what does the data say? Because we know data rules,
Yeah.
but the gut's important too. And looking at, okay, are the pieces that I put into place, are they solving that problem? Or have they solved it and created a new challenge along the way through unintended
Mhm.
consequences? So it's those three pieces. And you're already on track. You've started the W phase already, which puts
Yeah.
you already head and shoulders above many people as we're digging into this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And so I feel like no remembering that everything that's in here, like my brain just goes and goes and goes, and I have 500 ideas. And so I have to remember to look at the reality, the awareness. When you say awareness, I think reality. What is the reality? And the reality is we have a lot of things that are set up great. Um, we all have to get into new habits of how to work together. But it probably isn't as big of a gap as it
Mhm.
feels like the
Right.
stress I'm taking on. It's probably not as big of a gap as I'm making it up to be.
Yeah. Absolutely. And another piece that I'm excited about that you are taking advantage of is that time rescue analysis,
That's
because
huge.
that
Yeah.
program is a perfect place to work on the W part.
Yeah.
We found the awareness, we found the challenge. Now what's that work part of it? And that program is going to really dig into that really well.
Yeah.
So
I,
oops, sorry, go
I
ahead.
I was going to say real quick that that is just such a huge solution for me because I'm very good with my time. I have my processes down. I have calendars. I'm very good with it. But because I'm moving so fast, I'm saying this in case there's anyone watching who like can relate. It's like I'm moving so fast that my own perspective gets off. Even though I'm good about it, my own perspective gets a little bit off and clouded because I'm moving so quickly. It gets clouded around my time management. So being able to check in and get that outside perspective just once a quarter, I mean, it's just huge. It's so valuable, and I cannot wait. We have a we have an appointment in a couple of weeks, but I can't
I
wait.
know. I'm excited too. So we've solved your bottleneck. Yay, us. And we did it in 3 questions or less. Usually I count them out, but I forgot to do that. But we were at 3-ish, give or take a
Three-ish.
follow-up question
Good.
here or there, whatever. It's a little fluid. And if you would like to participate and be a contestant on the Guess Your Productivity Bottleneck, then you just want to go to impactivestrategies.as.me and just click right there, and you can apply to be on the show too. So thanks again, Mary.
Thanks, Lisa.